The English baccalaureate is no more. Oh no, what's the world coming to?
Hello, welcome back to another Craig and Dave at the Chalk Face. I'm Craig and this is Dave. There you go. I think we got that right.
No, wrong again.
No, it's right on my screen.
But it's not right on the video, man.
What, were you on that side of me? Oh, yeah, you're right, because then the video goes full. Oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's just crack on, shall we? You're used to this chaos. So today is part 3 of our curriculum and assessment review. So I'm just going to share a screen with you. We don't often do this, but for those who aren't aware, have you been living under a rock? The outcome of the curriculum and assessment review, the biggest review of our curriculum from Key Stage 1 to 5 in a decade, was dropped a couple of weeks ago. 250 pages, 50 plus page government response, and we summarized it all down for you into a presentation. That presentation is available in the description of this video, and in parts 1 and 2 we went through the key takeaways of that CAR report, from assessment to what it means for computing, and all sorts of other bits and pieces. Today we are going to focus on something slightly different but no less important, which is the changes to the proposed model of assessment. That's what assessing schools. So the performance measures for schools, known as Progress 8 and Attainment 8. If you're old enough like me and Dave, you'll remember 5 A stars to C's, including English and maths. Well, those days are long gone now. So it's important to point out that these measures are still the ones schools are being held to until... Oh, I'd have to dig the date out. We did it in the last presentation, but they've given a date whereby this is the year by which schools will be measured using this new model, which means obviously 2 years before that is when options will need to be taken, considering to consider that students meet the new requirements. So there's some interesting implications here. So we are going to go through the Progress 8 and Attainment 8 new model. So firstly, it's worth a very quick refresh on what the current Progress 8 and Attainment 8 model looks like. And this will still be relevant as a performance measure for the next 2 to 3 years. So effectively, again, if you don't know about Teach You to Suck Eggs, very quickly, Progress 8 and Attainment 8 is an average of 10 numbers. And those 10 numbers are made up from 8 subjects. So we have English, that's double weighted. Maths, that's double weighted. And then we have 6 others. Now, currently, 3 subjects have to fit into what we call the EBAC qualifications. So that's any of the sciences, including computer science, geography, history, and any language. And then the other 3 are what called the open group. That's where the students make more options. Everything else fits in there. And as long as the combination of subjects students take meet these, what they call buckets, then they take the highest qualifications in each of those, turn them into points, and average it to get your Progress 8 or Attainment 8 score. Well, if you followed part 1 and 2, you know the EBAC is going. One of the things they have said is it's too restrictive. It hasn't met its purpose. And so they are reflecting that in a new change. So this is the new Progress 8 and Attainment 8 model. So obviously we see English and maths is the same. We see this science section, and then there's this new breadth section where a couple of special category slots. So let's pull that apart, see what this actually means. We're going to model some examples, and although it looks subtle at the first, it's actually quite different to the current model that has that 3 EBAC slot.
Yeah. So just for those of you that are listening to this as a podcast, let's just break this down a little bit for you. So what we're looking at here is English and maths in buckets 1 and 2 are still double weighted, no change there. But then we've got 2 science buckets, 3 and 4. We've then got 4 breadth buckets, of which 2 are category slots. So 5 and 6 are category slots, and then you've got buckets 7 and 8.
Yeah, perfect. Right. So I'm just going to run through those buckets from left to right and explain in a bit more detail what goes in. So English has not changed from the current model. We're all quite familiar. It's a double weighted slot and it will continue to follow the same rules as they do now. So that effectively means it will be based on the higher point score of pupils' GCSE English language or English literature, and that will be double weighted. Incidentally, the lower of those two grades, because 94% of the students take both Lit and Lang, the lower of those two is available to use in those final two bucket slots, 7 or 8. So that's probably what will happen. In bucket 2 is maths, and that's simply double weighted. Again, no change from the current model. We then have buckets 3 and 4. Now, this is a new category, and they're calling this the science category. And they will take the two highest point scores from GCSE science qualifications. Now, that can include the Combined Science Double Award, single sciences, and in that, obviously, they are still counting computer science or computing, whatever they end up actually calling the qualification, probably computing, but I haven't changed this wording, I should point out, to straight out of the DfE proposal document. They will include that in science. So that's a new category there for science, and any combination of 4 different sciences can be in there, including computing, whatever's highest. Then we have this breadth section. So breadth is the final 4 slots. And this is where they're attempting to broaden the model to reflect the fact the CAR report said it was too restrictive and we were now losing a focus on some of the more creative and physical subjects. So breadth is slots 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now the first 2 of those, 5 and 6, are kind of special. We're calling them category slots. So buckets 5 and 6 must be filled by GCSE qualifications from 2 of the 3 categories below. And when I say below, what I'm showing here is a table of 3 categories, category A, B, and C. Now ignore category D for now, because that is not in the current proposed model. We'll talk about that in a minute. Category A is humanities. Category B is new. It's called creative. That's art, design, music, drama, dance, design, technology. And category C is all of your modern foreign languages and indeed ancient languages. So what we're saying there is when you get to 5 and 6, you must have at least 1 subject from 2 categories. I can't, for example, fill category 5 and 6 with geography and history because I'd only have subjects from category A. I must have subjects from at least 2 categories. So that's an interesting new angle there. And then finally, finally, I should mention what this category D is. So this category D I've got on the screen, it's called a science category, and I've got combined science, biology, chemistry, physics, and computer science. Well, the government are going to consult, and they are very interested on including a 4th category, a category D. It's not in the current proposed model. So it would be called a science category. It would include the 3 sciences and computing. And of course, the idea is it would allow pupils to choose a more specialized STEM-based selection. It doesn't replace the special science bracket in 3 and 4. So obviously now I can have my physics, my biology in 3 and 4, and I can have my chemistry in 5 because now I'm hitting one of the science brackets. So they realize it will allow for more science STEM-based selections, but they fear it may be at the detriment to the breadth of the other subjects. So they're not sold on having this 4th category. And that's interesting because we fit in there, Dave. So, I mean, let's be honest, if we don't go there, where do we sit? I mean, they would argue we sit in the science bucket, 3 and 4. Oh, you're one of the sciences. Well, come on. That's going to be filled with double science, combined science for most people, or 2 of the triples. We're none of the special category slots for 5 and 6. We're just not there. We're not humanities, creative languages. So suddenly we fall into the final 2 buckets. I don't see how this current model, for us purely as computer scientists, actually helps our argument with SLT in terms of please offer this subject. Well, you're competing with everyone else over in 7 and 8. I mean, it's not massively better than the current model for our subject, Dave. I'm not sure what your thought or take is on that.
I unless I'm missing something, I don't really see how it has any impact. And let me explain my thought process, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. So at the moment, computer science can be a science, or it can be in one of the other buckets, depending on how high the grade was compared to other subjects. I think I've got that right.
Yeah.
So the only so there is no real difference. We're still a science if you want to be a science.
Yeah.
And we're still a subject at breadth if you want us to be a subject at breadth. I mean, okay, they've said for now, if we do have a category D, then computer science is in there competing with biology, chemistry, physics. But then it's competing with those subjects in the science buckets anyway. So there's no real difference there. And if they don't have a category D, then computer science is either going to be only in the science buckets, or it will find itself in category A, B, or C as well, which is probably more likely. I guess the implication is if they don't go with category D and computer science does not go in category A, B, or C,
it won't
so
go on
we
A, B, or C.
end up competing with the sciences, then what will happen is the computer science grade essentially will never count towards anything to do with Progress 8 or Attainment 8, and therefore it will not be seen as very important in schools if that happens. However, if we do end up in one of the breadth buckets, category A, B, C, or D, then it does really count, because you may well find that students that do very well in computer science, it's one of their highest grades, and therefore it is going to affect Progress 8 and Attainment 8, because it would be one of their better breadth scores. So unless I'm missing something, I don't really see that anything changes.
So yeah, you were mainly right there, Dave. I mean, if we don't get the category D, which consulting on, we definitely don't go in categories A, B, or C. They are fixed. So they are humanities, creative, and languages. So if we don't get the category D, we would still be able to count. We would just count in the final 2 slots. So they're the 2 I hadn't got onto yet. 7 and 8 then will be the 2 highest point scores from any other subjects. I think my issue is, though, if we don't get that category D, that's the only place I think we are likely to sit. Because they will argue, well, you sit in 3 and 4. Well, to be honest, I remember the EBAC for years running it, and I can count on the hand the number of times computer science was used to fill, a bracket for science. It wasn't. It was filled by combined science. It was filled by, a triple scientist getting much higher scores in physics, chemistry, or biology. It just never sat there, especially with computer science typically getting upwards of a grade less. It just didn't count. So the only place it would now count is in 7 and 8. But of course, if we do appear in category D, if that happens, if we get a category D, then there's extra choice. We can appear in this 5, 6, and in 7 and 8. It just but it's still not a huge grade. What I'd love is to see a computer science category that they have to take, but of course that's never going to happen.
I don't know, because here's my other thought process on all this, which is you've got to be careful what you wish for. Do we really want? Does it matter whether computer science is contributing to Progress 8 and Attainment 8? Is really my premise here. Because your proposal of, I'd like us to be in our own bucket, or, one of the subjects that has to feature, well, what you're doing by doing that is putting an awful lot of pressure on the teachers delivering computing to attain high grades from all learners. Now, Craig and Dave are all about high expectations and, getting the best out of students and enabling them to succeed and progress to future, et cetera, et cetera. Of course we are. So we're not saying that the quality of teaching should be lower if we don't feature in Progress 8 Attainment 8. What I'm saying is that why do we need that pressure? I mean, you know how much pressure English and maths and science are under to get results out of every child, whether they're interested in those subjects or not. Why do computing teachers need that pressure? Because I guess what you're saying, the premise behind your argument is to feel important in the curriculum, to feel like the subject gets its appropriate staffing, its appropriate timetabling and everything else It has to add value to the school model and the performance measures. Otherwise, what will happen is the senior leaders just won't prioritize computer science. But
That
I
really
don't
is my
see that
argument. Yeah.
much changes, to be honest. I don't think they're in the mindset of prioritizing computer science now, and I don't think any of these proposals will change it. So I would say
No.
we don't need the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That is the crux of the argument. You read the CAR report and what we've done, and obviously we focus on our subject area. So we see them saying this is fundamentally important. It's so vital. We're going to broaden this. It has to be. Everyone has to be digital literate, and AI has to be embedded in cross curricular, and it's going to remain a foundation subject. It will be core and. All schools now, including academies, have to teach it. And you come away, right, brilliant. I'm finally going to be able to convince my SLT that I'm not getting enough at Key Stage 3. A few weeks here and on a carousel is no longer good enough. And offering it as an option that a bunch of people don't take when it's meant to be core, it is core. But I have this, and then they turn around and say, well, I can hit the performance measures without anyone taking this. So actually, it doesn't really change anything because go on.
I think the other thing that they really need to address through this, and it's a prime opportunity to do it, we've said in previous episodes that it's just a fact that computer science as a qualification, the grades are lower in computer science than they are in other subjects. I think it's minus 0.72 or something from
That's right.
memory.
Yeah.
And so we have to have equity with other subjects to start with. It cannot be that you get lower grades in computer science to other subjects. That's just an anomaly that needs resolving. But there's a
Yeah.
beautiful way to do it with the new qualification in GCSE computing that is going to introduce more breadth, and it's not going to just be about computer science, but it's going to be about digital literacy and other appropriate modern things. There's a real opportunity here to say, actually, this qualification is appealing to all young people. And if they do double down on the national curriculum at Key Stage 4, and again, they take out this anomaly of the wording of opportunity and they say all students must study, and there's a real you have to offer computing on the timetable one way or the other and not just in some cross-curricular sense. If they go that route and therefore there's an incentive for students to offer a place on the timetable, then there may well be an incentive to offer GCSE computing to the majority of students in the school. And when you do that, then you kind of get your importance that way. But I'm not even sure that the staffing is out there to be able to achieve this. I personally, call me pessimistic, but I can't see that any of this is going to change anything.
Oh, good old Dave with the optimism as always. But I think you're right. I mean, yes, and they do allude to that in the report. They say issues of staffing aside, which are beyond the remit of this report. I went, one of the most important things, but thanks for glossing over that bit. But yeah, absolutely. So I just want to finish off by actually looking at a couple of worked examples. Now, these are not worked examples I've come up with. These are worked examples supplied by the DfE. They actually, alongside their government response on the same day, they published another paper called changes to the Progress 8 Attainment 8 model. And these come from there. And you can very quickly see how different this is from the current EBAC model. So we've got a few pupils. This is pupil A, and they enjoy humanities and modern foreign languages. So we've got English, maths, and combined science in buckets 1, 2, 3, and 4. You've then got French and history in 5 and 6. And of course, that meets our requirement because French comes from category C, and history comes from category A. So I picked 2 subjects from 2 categories. And then the highest of any 2 grades go in the last 2 boxes. So computer science, and they've taken English language. Now, this example would currently hit the EBAC measure because I've got a French, I've got a modern foreign language, I've got a humanity, and I've got the sciences. This is the only example that they provide. All the others break. So all the other examples DfE give are examples of students which wouldn't currently hit your performance measures. So here we have pupil B, and they enjoy creative subjects. And of course, this is one of the big drivers. They're saying the creative subjects have been neglected due to the EBAC performance measures. So again, we have our English and maths and our combined science in 1 through 4. But now in our category buckets, I've got religious studies, that's from the humanities category, not geography or history. Religious studies, and that counts. And then from a second category, category B, I've got music. And of course, this is one of the big new additions, and I'm sure the creative subjects will be cheering at this, and rightly so. We've got your art, design, music, drama, dance, design, technology. So you'll notice, and then the other two, the breadth, the final two breadth ones, 7 and 8, any other high subjects. So here we have performing arts and English language. But look at this one, Dave. This could be not more different from the current EBAC. There is no geography, history, and there's no language. All those students forced to take a language when they don't want to or they can't stand it. This will have big implications for the modern foreign language departments and humanities. There's no humanities there. There's no modern foreign language. Pupil C, enjoy science subjects. No modern foreign languages anywhere. This one's obviously taking triple science. So we've got our English and maths in 1 and 2. Instead of combined science now, we've got biology and chemistry in 3 and 4. They're obviously doing triple science. And then to meet those category slots, we've got geography from the humanities category and art and design from the creative category. And then the two highest other performing subjects, well, we've got physics, because obviously they were doing triple science, but they can only have 2 in the science slot, and they've got that English literature. So again, no modern foreign languages. The fact is, you can have pupils under the new performance measures not take any humanities and modern foreign language. So here I am worrying about the uptake of computer science. I think the bigger worry out there may be from humanities and modern foreign language teachers, Dave. I don't know what you think. It's quite a change.
Yeah, I would say that for teachers of English and maths, other than what might be put in and taken out of your curriculum,
Yeah.
no big change. Science, pretty much a winner in all this. They've got their science buckets, but they can also feature in the breadth buckets, and no upheaval there. I think for us in computer science, although there is change, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, and therefore we're kind of, dare I say, unaffected, even though there have been changes. And then I think there are winners. The winners are going to be the creative and arts subjects, and quite rightly so, in my opinion, because I think they've been downtrodden for a long time. So I think this is a welcome change. And then, of course, you've got the losers. And I think the losers here are going to be the humanities, history and geography. And they're going to be the modern languages, which typically are going to be French, Spanish, German,
of course,
and others. So that's how I see it. Now, whether it ends up manifesting itself in that way will be interesting, because although it might not sort of count as such, if we put it this way, we do know, for example, that subjects like history and geography are still very popular. And so I don't think this is necessarily going to change the popularity of those courses particularly. So it's going to be an interesting little shake-up. And of course, the group of subjects we haven't really talked about, Craig, and, tell me where these fit. I guess they just fit in buckets 7 and 8 in terms of breadth. Those subjects like, for example, business, psychology, sociology, the ologies that are not biology. Where do they fit, and how do they win or lose?
Yeah. So, I mean, just on your previous point, you're right. The government's argument will be, but we're giving them choice. If they are good at modern foreign languages and they want to do it, then they take it in 5 and 6. It's one of the categories. It meets the requirements. They would argue, obviously, at the moment, the current model is forcing too much on people, and everyone has to do it. But you're right. But yes, those other subjects, like you said, those business and psychology, it is 7 and 8. I mean, I skipped over it because it's quite a lot of text. But there you go. It's on the slide now is the text from the government report for 7 and 8. These two slots will take the 2 highest point scores in any 2 subjects and other GCSE qualifications or any technical awards from the approved list. So without going too much into it, if you remember, there's an approved list of GCSE and GCSE equivalent qualifications, and they publish that each year. These are all the qualifications which count the performance measures. And so all of those, if they've not been mentioned so far, are in 7 and 8. Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's not English, maths and science, and it's not in one of these new special categories, the humanities, creative language, then as long as on the approved list, they all go in 7 and 8. That's absolutely
Yeah.
right, Dave. That's
I
where they'll
think
end
that
up.
might be a bit of a missed opportunity. The fact that you have gone to the effort of identifying category A, B, C, and potentially a D that also includes science. I think there was an opportunity there to maybe make category D or even a category E that makes some of those other subjects a little bit more important, because it feels like they've just been overlooked again. Put sociology and psychology and business in 7 and 8. I mean, they've always been all the way down there, but some of those courses, I mean, let's take GCSE in business. Not only is it very relevant in our society, but it's hugely popular. Huge numbers of
Yeah,
candidates study it. And it just feels like if that just gets shoved in buckets 7 and 8, then it will be at the detriment of some of the other subjects, and could even be computer science. But before we finish, Craig, there's one other thing I'd just like to touch on and get your opinion of all this. So when we kind of look at this holistically and we step back, then we think about, well, what were the reasons for doing some of these things? And as you've already articulated, one of the reasons is to allow more of the creative subjects to have more of
yeah,
an impact, to allow students to have more choice. Um, but the counter argument to that was, one of the things the EBAC was intended to do was to give all young people
yeah,
equal opportunities to study and be successful in academic subjects, because it was the case that for a time, the modern foreign languages and the humanities and things like that and the sciences were really studied by a certain group of students, if I can put it that way. And
yeah,
what the previous government really wanted to do was say, no, all young people should have an equal opportunity for academic success and be able to learn academic subjects. And they kind of really raised the profile of what we might call academic subjects in teaching, because they just said, this is about raising the bar for everybody. This is about raising the opportunity for everybody. And so if we now say that actually,
it
it's
didn't
not as
work.
important as it once were to
Yeah.
study the modern languages, the humanities, and all the rest of it, are we not dumbing down our curriculum again?
Yeah, we can make that argument, but a 251-page report that took 3 years to produce with an independent panel quite clearly stated multiple times with evidence it was laudable, it was lofty, it was understandable, it didn't work, and it didn't fulfill its purpose. And that's it, isn't it? I mean, let's not get into my particular opinions that I have of previous education ministers, Michael Gove, but I didn't completely disagree with everything he said, despite the fact I couldn't wait till he was out of office, bless him. He raised computer science as a thing. It was like, yes, you're right, the academic, the high bar. You're right, and we talk about it, don't we? High standards for everyone, scaffolding up, not differentiating down. It all sounded very great, but the evidence was there. It just didn't work, and we ended up with disenfranchised students, targets that were never met, targets that were adjusted down a couple of times during the last government and still not met. So I think it's broken, something needs to change. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, will this make any difference? Definitely will to the creative subjects. I think detriment to modern foreign languages, which were on the decline anyway. So it's interesting to see. I mean, just before we finish up, I had two other little examples, along with one that uses the new category. So I have this pupil here. This one allows a student to. This is pupil D enjoys physical activity. So here, of course, drama is now counting in a category slot, and they've got physical education. But again, no humanities. So an interesting change then. Again, this wouldn't meet the EBAC. The last three of these haven't met the current EBAC, so it's quite a change. And then this last one is an example of a student that would meet the new measures, assuming they introduce the category D, which is under consultation. So they're saying this is a pupil who enjoys science, technology, engineering, and maths, STEM. This is a STEM, which of course is much more the current academic model. So you can see here we've got physics and biology in 3 and 4 because they're a triple scientist. Computer science can now be taken in one of the category slots because with category D is in. We then got Spanish from the language slot. Chemistry is your triple science, goes in 7. So we've got a very STEM heavy student. But I think you're right in what you were saying, Dave, in that this doesn't really massively change much for us. And at the end of the day, how far is the pendulum swinging the other way? This was our argument, wasn't it, with computer science. When computer science came in, it felt like we were going massively, ditching all the IT and going all coding. And of course, now it's like, oh, we've gone too far away and people now don't know how to use applications for purpose. Let's have computing. And I guess your argument here is, well, the performance measures, we've gone very, very academic driven for right reasons. How far is it going the other way? Who knows? Who knows? It's an interesting change, though. I mean, out of those 5 example pupils the government proposed, 4 of them would not meet the current EBAC performance measures. So it is quite a change that schools are going to have to think about when offering their option choices. And I think I looked it up while you were talking earlier. I think it's from 2027, teachers will have to think for those year 9s then, when they take their GCSEs in 2 years' time, they'll be measured against this new model, whether or not it includes category D. So it's an interesting change. But yeah, well, and that's it. We've done everything on our CAR report, Dave. I don't know if you've got any final thoughts, opinions. It's been 3 long episodes, and we've digested a lot and put a lot out there. And I'm sure things are going to change and massage over 2026 as they consult on how to implement all this. But
I think, just kind of reflecting on the topic of today, I would just say, look, it shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're talking about options, thinking about which subjects you're going to take, how it affects performance measures and all the rest of it. Let's just remember that education is there for students. It's not there for schools. It's not there for teachers. It's there for the students. So my advice is simple. Pick the subjects you enjoy. Pick the subjects you think you're going to be successful at. Don't worry about everything else because everything else will come out in the wash. It won't matter. Pick the subjects you like, pick the subjects you're going to be successful at. And that would be my advice to school leaders thinking about how to advertise some of this to parents and to students when the time comes. And if you are a head of subject or you're a senior leader and you want a copy of the presentation that we have been sharing and talking through today, as Craig said at the very beginning of the video, it's a link to that is in the video description. Please go ahead and use that and share it how you see fit.
Perfect. Well, there it is. I'm sure this won't be the last from Dave and I on the implications of the CAR report. As things have happened over 2026, we'll be here with updates. But for now, that is our initial take on the curriculum and assessment review. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.